Today we're going to look at another $500 match, and we see a crazy online Catan Grandmaster play some -2 IQ roads. Red plays a road bidding to try to get to the 4-11, and to the 6-3, and then they end their turn? What? Wait, that's me. Let's go back to the beginning. Here I am, playing as red in the first position, and I think there's a clear attractive spot that jumps out to me. It's a super strong or wheat spot, but here's the decision. I can take the 4-5-8 or wheat, or I can take the 5-8-10 or wheat. Now, which one is better and why? In one of my videos, I talked about blocking settlements. Settlements that take away a lot of space on the board. And in this case, the 4-5-8 is a blocking settlement. It takes away spots like the 4-5-11 and the 3-4-8 spot. And it forces someone to place on the coast on the 8-10 if they want access to ore and wheat. However, if I go on the 5-8-10, I open up spots like the 3-4-8 and the 4-5-11. Since I'm on so much ore and wheat, and not much wood or brick for my first placement, it'll be hard for me to build roads and expand. If I'm going to potentially open up more space on the board, then I want that space to be advantageous for me, so I can build there. In this scenario, it's likely I can't do that since I'm starting with only heavy ore and wheat. That is a fundamental reasoning where I decided to go on the 4-5-8. Now this is actually game 5 of the series, so if you want to watch the previous games, click on the top right corner and you'll see the playlist. In the second position, I think the choice is quite clear. The highest producing spot on this board is a 5-6-9. First, you get the most production on this board, a total of 13 points. You have access to the strong wood port and an expansion spot on the 9-10. There's also a fair amount of brick on the board, and there's a good chance you'll get it when it comes back to you. You also get access to the strongest wheat spot on the board, and you also lock that down so no one else can place on the 5 wheat. Now in the third position, we have Gray, who is the USA National Champion. He has two options now. He can take the high producing 6-9-4, or he can take the direct ore wheat sheep, the 8-3-4. In the third position, I like to try to predict where fourth will go, and also look at my potential second settlements, which I call settlement outs. So, if we take the 6-9-4, we have two good settlement outs, through the 5-8-10 and the 8-3-4. Both are great spots, especially if Gray gets the brick port. Now, it's unlikely that fourth position would take both the 5-8-10 and the 8-3-4. That's just way too much sheep that they can't do anything with. Therefore, we can be confident in the third position that one of the spots, the 5-8-10 or the 8-3-4, will be open when it comes back to the third position. Now, if you take the 8-3-4 as third position, you also have two great spots, the 6-9-4 and the 8-10. I think there's a high chance the 6-9-4 will be taken. So, if you do take the 8-3-4, you're probably going to be left with the 8-10. So, both of these options are fine as a third pick. But I think the 6-9-4 is a better option, as you always have the 3-1 port, and you can get a decent amount of trades through the value of your bricks, and you also have the potential at getting the brick port. So, that's exactly what Gray, the USA National Champion, does, and he points his road towards the 6-2-3-1 port as he should. Now, we're in the fourth position. Like the groundhog, Green has a few options. Now before we place, here's some context. We are playing this game in a series format. Only the person who gets the 3 wins first gets the $500 prize pool hosted by me. As of now, the series score is currently 2-1-1-0. It's a worst case scenario for the table if Green, like the groundhog, is able to win and ends the series. The table needs to really make sure that Green doesn't win this game, because if he does, well, the series ends and we lose our chance to play another day to get the $500. So, like the groundhog knows this and is ready for counterplay, what would you do in Green, groundhog's position? Pause the video and comment below. It's some great practice and it'll help you improve. I'll wait. Green places on the 5-8-10 and the 8-10. Remember, the table really needs like the groundhog to lose. So here are some likely conditions that he will face while playing. The first condition is that he's going to have a lot less trading opportunity in this game. So the counterplay for this is being less reliant on trading by having a port or having all 5 resources. In this case, he opts for the 3-1 port. The second condition that's likely to happen, there will be more frequent robbers unlike the groundhog. So the counterplay for this is to go for an ore wheat sheep setup so you can buy more development cards and to defend yourself. In addition, you want to be sharing the tiles of the ore wheat sheep player. That way, they can't block you on very effective spots. In this case, Green is sharing the critical 8 ore tile with a strong ore wheat sheep player, which is me. And the third condition Groundhog will have to deal with is late game collision. So, if he has the longest road and is close to winning the game, the table is heavily incentivized to take away his longest road and to feed it to another player. And this is also true with the largest army. So Groundhog decides to go with an ore wheat sheep setup because largest army is easier to hold compared to longest road. The last reason why he went on the 5-8-10 and the 8-10 is because doubling on your numbers in this situation is actually an advantage. Groundhog needs to get lucky in order to close this game along with the series. So doubling up a number means a high variance setup. If a lot of 8 and 10s roll without many 7s, he can stop us even with all 3 players working together. So, I know that this was a long explanation, but I really think his picks here are ingenious and have a lot of subtle reasoning behind it. Now, it rolls back in the 3rd position, and I think this choice is pretty easy. It gets him more wheat, some ore on the 4s, and now he has coordinated 4s, ore and wheat, and he also gets sheep. In addition to that, he points his road upwards towards a brick port since he has so much brick. I think this is a pretty standard pick that we were anticipating. Now in the 2nd position, we have 2 options, the 9-10-11 or the 3-10-11. If you take the 9-10-11, you get the coordinated brick and wood, so it gives you a road whenever the 9 rolls. It also gives you almost perfect 1-to-1 wood-brick ratios, which is exactly what you want since wood and brick are always used together. The other option, the 3-10-11, does get you a little bit more wheat. However, you lose out on the precious 9 brick. Although you do get that starting road to get to the 9-10 wood brick, I think it's simply better to go on the 9-10-11 and use the starting road to get the strong 9-10 wood port and the extra wheat, as that basically substitute the 2 points of extra wheat you'd be getting on the 3-10-11. So, Hawkeye, blue, makes a good decision and goes on the 9-10-11. And he points his road left as he should be doing. You don't want to be pointing your road inwards because there's a high chance someone will be taking that spot. Now, it comes back to me, to the 8th and last pick, and I have the 6-3-11 open. This gives me 3 tiles of sheep, strong ore, and strong sheep. And I also do have a good expansion spot onto the 4-11 to get me 2 tiles of ore to match myself with all this wheat. I think this is a pretty no-brainer decision to go on the 6-3-11 and point your road upwards. So, the game begins and I roll a 6, getting me a sheep. Blue goes ahead and drops the starting free road onto the powerful 9-10. Gray rolls an early 7 and immediately puts the rubber onto the 8 ore and takes from me. He's searching for my wood because he has so much brick. Now I want to quickly analyze some of my setup's shortcomings. The first issue with my setup is that it looks very strong, and admittedly, if it does go unchecked, it is very strong. However, on the 4-5-8 settlement, I share 3 unique hexes with 3 unique players. What this means is that the robber is going to be bouncing between every single one of those spots. The 4 wheat, the 5 wheat, and the 8 ore. This means I will be getting blocked a lot this game. What that also means is that when I upgrade my 8-5-4, although it looks like a very strong upgrade, the value of that city will drastically decrease because I'm constantly getting blocked. And lastly, if my 8 ore is blocked by the robber, I really can't do much with this setup, as I have tons of wood and sheep that don't really trade well on this board. I've already given the table the little speech why my setup isn't as strong as it looks, and in addition to that, I tell Hawkeye the only 2 cards in my hand are sheep, and I already know that he has sheep in hand, and the sheep is not rare for him. So he moves the robber onto the 8 ore, and he steals some groundhog. Gray rolls an 8 and buys a development card. Unfortunately, the 8 is blocked. Then, he buys a development card himself. It comes back to me, but there's nothing I can do, so I just pass. On Gray's turn, he rolls an 11. Then, on Green's turn, he plays a knight card, and moves the robber off the 8 ore onto the 5 wheat, and he takes from me. The reason why he's taking from me is because I'm his ore wheat sheep competitor. I'm gonna be the person who's gonna be fighting him for the largest army. We're incentivized to rob each other early and constantly through this game. Because if I'm very successful in this game, I directly take away from him, since I'm going to be buying a lot of development cards, which are most likely going to be knights that contest green in the largest army race. Then, on Green's turn, he offers a wheat for a brick, and Blue says yes to this trade very quickly. Whenever someone says yes to a trade extremely quickly, you have to be cautious. With this trade, it helps Blue significantly more than it helps Green. Blue is going to be able to build a settlement on his turn, onto the powerful 9-10 spot. In addition, Blue's wheat is blocked, and the only way they can get wheat is through trades. If no one trades Blue wheat, then they can't do anything. On the other hand, Green is only able to drop a road onto the 8-3. So, I think this trade helps Blue significantly more than it helps Green. As Green, I think this is a fine spot to ask for multiple cards, instead of just a 1-for-1 trade. Then, on Blue's turn, he drops a settlement onto the powerful 9-10 spot, because he's given that trade. And now, on Gray's turn, he rolls a 9. Every single time a 9 rolls, Blue gets a road and a half, or he gets a free card through the wood port. Getting on that 9-10 was super powerful. Now, it's Gray's turn. He offers a brick and a wheat for a wood. And I say yes to that trade because he's giving me 2 cards, but Gray also completes a road in my hand, and I get an extra wheat while my wheat is blocked. In addition to that, I know all Gray is going to be doing with this trade is dropping a road. Now it's Green's turn. He's searching for a brick.
Anybody a brick?
I have a brick. I usually have brick, yes.
You looking for an ore?
You're trying to get the settlement?
Yeah.
What would the 2 cards you could give me be?
I do have a 3-for-1. I don't have to do it. Alright, well, Ian accepted.
Now typically, this seems like a weird trade to accept. Because Gray says yes to this deal, I'm also going to be saying yes to this deal. Remember, from a strategy perspective, sniping down trades for marginal value is a fine play. Now, looking at my hand, this trade seems pretty awkward, since I'm trading away my brick, which breaks a road, and building roads are very difficult for me to do. So why would I take this trade, and how does it help me? The reason why I would take this trade, even though it gives Green a settlement, is because it gets me very close to a city. If a single 8 rolls, that gets me a 3rd ore, which gives me a city. If a single 6 rolls, it gets me a 4th sheep, so I can 4-1 it away for a city. And lastly, I know that Gray has brick in hand, and he's going to be wanting my wood so he can build a settlement on that brick port. In addition to that, I know that Gray just got more sheep in hand, and they already have a good chunk of sheep. So on my turn, there's a good chance I'm going to be able to trade my wood for a sheep, which gets me 4 sheep so I can 4-1 for a city. Obviously, building a city is much stronger than building a road. Especially in this setup where I'm going to be getting blocked all the time and I'm going to need as much production as possible. This trade is slightly risky since it does bring me over 7 cards. However, the chance of a 7 rolling is only a 16.6% chance, so I'm willing to take the risk and try to get a city on my turn instead of building a simple road. And while I say that, it's my turn, and a 9 rolls. So, in my turn, I follow through with the plan and I offer up my wood, knowing that Gray wants it. I ask for 2 cards with the plan to lower to 1 sheep if he negotiates. But first, Gray has some questions.
And what does this let you do? You're not dropping a city, right? Does this let you build?
When asked directly, I decide to tell them the truth. Strategically, I think it would be better to say something like, well, it gives me a 4-for-1, so my hand won't be stuck. This way, I give less information and I don't directly answer them if I'm getting a city or not. However, this can obviously be countered by them asking for a more direct answer. In general, it's a good tactic to always ask your opponents what are they doing with these trades so you can properly evaluate it. So unfortunately, with my plan discovered, I can't get a city this turn.
Yeah, no, I can't give you a city.
I don't want to be holding at 8 cards, so I decide to buy a development card, and that's a knight. On Hawkeye's turn, blue, he rolls a 3.
You want a brick and a wheat for a wood. I'll do it for either one, Hawkeye, but you're way ahead of me right now, and I just don't want to give you a 2-for-1.
It's fair. I probably won't do it.
With that, blue decides to get some revenge and drop 3 roads, cutting Gray off. Ouch, this is very detrimental to Gray's game, even though it doesn't look like it. This is a very strong play for blue. Now, let's rewind 1 orbit to earlier onto Gray's turn. On Gray's turn, when he built a road onto the 8 sheep towards a brick port, that's actually a mistake. The reason why it's a mistake is because, well, he got cut off. Now you might say, Dylighted, you're being results oriented. And I would say, no, you're not being results oriented. The reason for that is because if you're tracking carefully, blue already has 3 wood and 2 brick in hand. So if another brick number rolls for blue, the 9 or 11, that means blue will be able to build 3 roads and cut Gray off onto the 6-2. Remember, blue is heavily incentivized to do this because it gives them a strong uncontested game for the longest road. They're going to have the 9-2 expansion spot, the 6-2 expansion spot, along with the 3-1 port, and the 6-3 expansion spot. No one else will have a strong lock over longest road like how blue will. Now if you do the math, the chance of blue's brick rolling when it gets to blue's turn is actually 42%. Now that's a very high percent of you getting cut off. Furthermore, although the brick port is useful for Gray, the 3-1 port on the 6-2 is still very good for Gray, since they can still be porting their sheep and their brick. And lastly, Green isn't super incentivized to take away the brick port from Gray, since they don't really produce any brick. And you can already see Green committed a road down towards the 8-3 spot. So because of those reasons, that's why I think dropping a road to the brick port instead of dropping a road to the 6-2 is actually a mistake. Now, it's back to Gray's turn, and he's wanting a wood for a brick and a sheep. He also throws out the additional offer of a brick and a wheat. Now, this completes Gray's settlement onto the brick port, which makes him quite powerful, since he's on other brick. And it doesn't really do much for me, besides giving me an extra card along with the brick that I don't produce. So inherently, this trade is a lot more beneficial for Gray than it is for me. However, what I don't know is that blue also took this trade with Gray. Even though we were all in a call together, I didn't know that blue accepted this trade. I would see someone else taking the trade, and then I would hop in and take this trade also. Gray is way more incentivized to do this trade with me over blue, because this gives blue a settlement onto the 6-2 spot, and it does basically nothing for me. If Gray had said that blue was taking it, I would take this trade in a heartbeat, to prevent blue from getting a settlement on their turn. So unfortunately, that's one of the shortcomings of playing online. With that trade going down, Gray drops a settlement onto the brickport. Gray is also more incentivized to give me this trade over Blue, because now Blue is doing very well this game and is uncontested for longest road. Green rolls a 7 on his turn, and he solo blocks Blue on the 9 wood for several reasons. First, whenever the 9 rolls, it gives Blue a free card because he has a wood port. It also interrupts the coordinated 9s since he gets a free road every single time a 9 rolls. And because Blue has a settlement in hand after he did that trade with Gray. Now my hand's sort of stuck, I offer a generous trade for a brick, so I can build a road onto the 4-11, because I want to defend myself from getting cut off from Gray. Gray just lost the settlement spot to the 6-2, so I fear the next spot they might build on is the 4-11. However, my trade gets rejected, and I'm forced into a decision with what I have in hand right now. I can either pass my turn and hold for a city, or I can buy a development card right now. I want you to pause the video. Would you buy a development card, or would you pass a turn? This is a really tough decision. I want you to practice it and comment below what you would do and why. I decide to buy a development card instead of holding for a city. The reason why I decide to buy a development card is because there's a high chance I can lose half my hand because of a 7. Because I'm on 6 unique numbers, there's a high chance I'm going to be rolling a card, putting me at 8 cards, where if a 7 rolls, I can lose half my hand. In addition to that, I'm not super close to getting a city. I'm going to need 2 8s to roll, or an 8 and a 6 to roll, and I have to do a 4 for 1 for this city. So the issue here, even if the 6 and 8s do roll, there can still be a 7 rolling, forcing me to discard half my hand, therefore breaking the city. Although I am behind everyone, I think this is a better spot to hold instead of building a city. However, if you did say hold for a city, I don't blame you, since this is a very tough spot, and I think that holding for a city is still a fine play. Lastly, most of the development cards right now would be amazing. If I get a road bidding or a year plenty, that's perfectly fine, as those cards are much better to get early in the game. If I get a monopoly, that's obviously quite good, and knights are especially good in my position because my 4, 5, and 8 are going to be blocked often. Blue rolls a 9, and then he drops a settlement onto the 6-2. Then, Gray rolls another 9, and Green's turn, he rolls a 10, giving wheat and wood to Blue. On my turn, I roll an 8, and I can buy another development card if I want. However, in this situation, since I'm only at 5 cards, I can pass my turn and be happy that there's not a high chance I'm going to get enough cards to 7 out. In addition, you really want to be holding here because you have a road bidding in hand. If you can get a trade for a brick, then you can build onto the 4-11 or the 6-3. Gray does a 4 for 1 and a 2 for 1 for a wheat and an ore. And with that, he buys an expensive development card.
Anyone trading wheat?
No.
No, dude. Your hand is friggin' stacked.
Well, I just thought I'd say it before I acted.
Yeah, I'm not saying you're wrong for asking.
On my turn, I roll a 6. I tell Green I have a knight card, and I'm going to be forced to play my robber and steal from you because I'm looking for your sheep. I'm offering a wood for a sheep. However, Green declines my deal. The reason why I'm searching for a sheep is because I could 4-1 my sheep away for an ore and then buy a city. So because Green says no to my deal, I play my knight card and move the robber onto the 10 wheat and steal from Green. And I miss and get the wood. Ouch. I think it was a 75% chance for a sheep since his hand was 3 sheep, 1 wood. So at 9 cards and still without a city, I'm in a tough spot. I can either hold or buy a development card. Now, I'm not really sure what the right play is. I think both plays are fine, but if I could go back and redo this decision, I'd probably hold instead of buying a development card, because at this point, I'm just way too behind in production, and I'm going to be outpaced by Green. On Blue's turn, he rolls a 6, and he does 2 3-for-1s for 2 ore. Blue is now holding for the city. On Gray's turn, he does a 2 for 1 for the ore with his brick port, and then passes his turn. Then, on Green's turn, he rolls another 9. On my turn, I roll a 7, and Blue has 11 cards. He discards 5 of them. Because I know Blue is holding for the city, and they didn't discard any city materials, hoping to take some of their city materials, or in wheat, so I can try and get a city myself. Now, here's where I make my -2 IQ move. I play a road bidding, and I drop a road to the 4-11, which makes sense. And I drop a random hanging road on the 4-3? What? It sucks to make mistakes when thousands of people are going to watch this, but it is what it is. So the first mistake is playing the road bidding in itself. There's no reason to play it when I don't have the settlement in hand. All this does is give away my intentions. The second mistake is where I actually drop my roads. I dropped the first road on the 4-11, which is okay. But the second road I drop on the 4-3? What? This is bad for many reasons. Blue over here has a lot of explosive road bidding potential, and it can easily cut me off to the 6-3. In addition to that, if Gray has a road bidding himself, he can also cut me off to the 6-3. So, the 4-3 road is not safe at all. Instead, I should have put the road somewhere else, such as the 11 wood. On the other hand, instead of committing to the 4-11, I can simply drop 2 hanging roads onto the 6-3, instead of the 4-11, to take away a strong spot from Blue. But by dropping a random hanging road like this, is basically just asking to be cut off by other players. And with that horrendous move over, I end my turn over 8 cards. Blue rolls a 3, getting ore and wheat on the board. Then, Gray rolls a 10, giving Green this coordinated 10s. Then, on Gray's turn, he ports 2 of his brick for an ore. That passes. On Green's turn, he rolls an 8, giving him a total of 4 cards, with 3 of those being ore. With his hand, he buys 2 development cards. On my turn, I roll a 9. I have a pretty stuck hand, and I really need to trade hard on this turn in order to do anything on this turn. I could also try playing an aggressive knight card to try to steal a sheep and an ore. This way, if I get a sheep, I can 4-1 for a city, or if I get an ore, I just directly have enough materials to build a city. However, I was sort of hesitant to do this, since I didn't want to move it off the powerful 9 wood, and my opponents were at 8 cards, so if I stole from them, it would bring them to 7 cards, which makes it a lot less likely that they'll 7 out by their turn. I tried asking for bricks here, so I could build a road and a settlement onto the 6-3, so my hanging road would not be in danger.
I mean, I have a city anyway, honestly.
Well, if you're not up to 7 rolls.
Nah, I do not 1 for 1 or nothing. I'm on 2 wheat numbers too.
I decided to take this trade because I need to be able to do something this turn. If I don't take it, then my hand is stuck with 2 dev cards, and I need to be increasing my productions, so I need to be putting settlements in cities. But I think I could have talked with other players to get a better trade, such as targeting a sheep trade, so that way I can 4-for-1 for a city. Although it's a pretty loose trade, and I think I definitely deserve more cards in this spot, Blue is firm on his position and refuses to give me more cards. So I decided to take this trade, which gives Blue a slightly cheaper city, but I don't mind trading with him as much, because it's the second best result if he wins, after me winning, because he only has 0 wins in the series. But if I could go back on this turn, I would fight a lot harder for trades, and probably play an aggressive knight. Building a settlement on the 4-11 was one of the weaker options in this turn. I was getting frustrated here by some of the table talk and just wanted the game to end at this point. I wish I tried harder, but that's not a good excuse for weak play. So on Blue's turn, he hits another 9, and he drops the city on the 5-6-9, which is a very strong spot. Then on Gray's turn, he rolls a 9 himself, and he also does a 2-for-1, and then he drops the city on the 8-4-3. So everyone's starting to build cities except for me. So on Green's turn, he rolls a 2. And he says this, I'm going to be playing a knight card, and I won't put it on you if you trade me a wood for an ore. And I say yes to that deal pretty quickly, since I know all I'm doing is completing him a 3-for-1 trade, and in return I get a 3rd ore, which is really useful. So now if a 4, 5, or 3 hit, it gets me my much needed city. Now it's my turn. And I decide to roll the dice before I play a knight. And I think that's actually a mistake here. I think I should have played my knight before I rolled, and then blocked the 9 wood. And the reasoning for this is because blocking a 6 brick is just such a weak block, and we need to be blocking Blue because he's so far ahead in this game. Also, and if you're tracking, Blue has a ton of extra brick in hand. So if a single 9 rolls, it gets him 3 wood to pair very, very nicely with that brick. And guess where Blue is going to start building his roads? The 6-3. So, I would say that the 9 did roll, and now I know he has a bunch of roads in hand, and I know that 6-3 spot is not safe. In addition to that, I just need to be playing a knight here, because Green has 2 knights played, and he only needs 1 more knight to get the largest army bonus. On the other hand, I only have 1 knight played, so I'm currently behind on the largest army race. So if I don't play a knight this turn, that puts me even further behind. So I'm sort of forced to play a knight this turn no matter what, which is why I should have just done it before I rolled. But at the very end of the day, I decided to not play a knight here, and simply pass my turn. Because Blue was at 8 cards, and stealing from him would bring him to 7 cards, so he can't get 7'd out. It's Blue's turn, and then he rolls a 5. The 5 or the 10 was the exact roll he needed to build 2 roads and cut me off for the 6-3. Then on Gray's turn, he rolls a 9, giving Blue 4 cards, and Gray decides to do 2 2-for-1s, and ports his brick for an ore and a wheat, then passes his turn. On Green's turn, he rolls a 5. And on my turn, I roll the dice, hoping for no 7, and yes, I'm able to dodge the 7. In fact, I roll an 8, which is actually a pretty bad roll for me, as weird as that sounds. And the reason why it's a pretty bad roll for me is because Green over here gets 3 times the amount of ore I get whenever an 8 rolls. Well, Green is going to outpace me for the largest army. But with that said, I buy a development card, and it's a knight. I play an aggressive knight card since I need to start fighting for the largest army now, especially since I just pulled another knight, and I put it on a 9 wood, because now Blue is at a total of 8 points. And he already has a settlement spot for 9 points on the 9-2. And lastly, I drop an obvious city on the 4-5-8. So on Blue's turn, he rolls an 11, and he ports 2 of his wood for an ore. This tells me that Blue is starting to hold for the city. On Gray's turn, he rolls a 3. Now he's offering wheat, searching for ore, and he's able to score a 1-for-1 trade with Green. And with that, Gray does a 4-for-1, and drops a city on the 6-9-4. On Green's turn over here, he rolls a 6, giving Blue another 4 cards, and Green goes ahead and throws me a pretty interesting trade. He offers me a sheep and an ore for wood and a wheat. It completes green 1 extra dev card, and also completes me a dev card also. So we're essentially trading a dev card for dev card. Usually I would say to trade cautiously with your win condition competitor, but since blue is so far ahead, and we're both buying dev cards, I'm fine with the table getting more dev cards, because all the knights should be going on blue and be stealing from blue too. So this wasn't an amazing trade, but it's needed to extend the game considering that both me and green were at 4 points. But overall, it's a pretty loose trade and it's pretty generous to green. So it's my turn and I roll a 7. So I put the robber on the 9 brick, and that's because I know I'm going to be moving the robber this turn with my knight card. So I move the robber onto the 10 wheat. Now this looks a little bit strange since I would typically be blocking something like the 9 wood, because it's both players that I care about winning. Since if green wins, that means I can't win since he has my largest army. And in addition to that, if green wins, well, the series is over. But if blue wins, well, we can continue the series. So it's not that bad if blue actually wins here. So I'm just trying to prevent the worst case scenario, which is green winning. Remember, I'd much rather have blue win this game than green, by far. So I buy development card and I get the monopoly card. And this is usually pretty good. The first reason being, I would like to monopoly either ore or wheat, but mostly ore. But the issue is, green goes right before me, so every single turn, he's going to be able to empty out his hand of ore, so I can't be monopolying that. But I do have positioning on blue, so I can't monopoly blue. But the issue is, blue doesn't produce any ore at all. In fact, he's mostly just going to be porting his stuff for ore, so he's never going to have a huge handful of ore where I can monopoly it. So on blue's turn, I think the Catan gods just want to punish me for blocking the 10, because the 9 rolls, giving blue another set of 4 cards. And with that, he ports 4 of his wood for an ore and a wheat, and drops a second city. On gray's turn, he rolls a 6, and he ports 4 of his brick for development card materials, and he buys a dev card. Then on green's turn, he plays a knight card and moves it onto the 9 wood. Then he rolls a 4. So it's my turn, and I roll a 2. And I buy development card. It's a knight. However, I think I'm 1 turn too late, because on green's turn, he's going to be playing a knight card himself, which puts him ahead in the largest army race. And remember, you can't play development cards that you just bought this turn. But in addition to that, you can only play 1 development card per turn. So, should I play my monopoly on this turn? And if so, what do I monopoly? Here are my thoughts. Well, if I monopoly here, will I be able to win? I don't think so. I think I need to hold the monopoly here and hope a lot of resources accumulate so I can monopoly for a huge turn. However, the question is, will I even get another turn? Blue's at 9 points. So, I was tracking blue's cards here, and I know they have some combination of 2 brick, 3 sheep, or 3 sheep, 2 brick. It doesn't really matter what specifically their hand is, because blue can win with a 6 or 10 rolling. This will give blue a settlement in hand, which will end the game. However, I can't prevent that if I play Monopoly. I can Monopoly maybe around 3 to 4 bricks, and try to connect in the middle and take longest road, which is horrible. That will extend the game, but then that also significantly favors the win towards green. Remember, if green, like the Groundhog, wins this game, the whole series is over, and all of us lose the opportunity to compete. So if I can't win, the next best option is a blue victory. Another option to think about is monopolying sheep, but once again, it's a really weak monopoly and it barely improves my hand. I think I'd be getting around like 3 to 4 sheep. So I end up deciding to end my turn and hold the monopoly, and I'm holding it for 2 reasons. 1, to hope for a huge monopoly opportunity so I can win, and 2, if I can't win myself, I'd much rather have blue win. On blue's turn, he rolls a 3. We dodge the 6. On gray's turn, he rolls a 10. Uh-oh. That means blue 100% has a win in hand. Gray plays a knight card and moves the robber onto the 6 wood. He buys 2 development cards himself, then ends his turn. Now, it's green's turn, and he rolls a 7. That was a perfect roll we needed in order to extend the game. Nice. Now blue has to get rid of half his cards. But the issue is, blue still might have the win in hand. So, like the Groundhog, green moves the robber onto the 5 wheat, and he takes from... me? What? I'm pretty confused about this play. I mean, blue's at 9 points, and he potentially has a win in hand. I'm at 4 points. I think the reason why he did this was because we're racing for largest army, but that doesn't really matter because green then plays a knight card, then takes the largest army back from me. Then he moves the robber back on the 9 wood, and then takes from blue. I'm pretty confused about that play, but I can confidently say that taking from blue here is definitely the right choice if you want any chance in winning. I think green was searching for a brick here, but I don't produce any brick at all. So anyways, he goes ahead and buys a development card, and ends his turn. It's my turn now, and I roll a 6. So pretty weird decision here. I'm fairly confident that blue has a win in hand. And if I pass my turn, well, the victory just goes to blue. But remember, blue winning is not a bad thing, because that makes the series score 2-1-1-1. However, on the other hand, if I play a monopoly and prevent blue from winning, the issue with that is that green is at 6 points with 3 down development cards. And because they're doubled up on so many numbers, they can actually win in the next turn if they have a really lucky orbit. For example, if an 8 and a 10 rolls and he has 3 victory points, then the game goes to green instead of blue. And that's a worst case scenario, and because this is a series format where winner takes all, I really don't want that happening. So I choose the alternative play, and I play a knight card instead. I put it on blue and try to steal one of his resources in hand to prevent him from getting the win, although the chance of preventing him a win is significantly lower by playing a knight card. I also need to be playing my knight if I want any chance of winning this game. So with that said, I steal sheep, and then with that, I buy another development card. But before we move on, I want to tell you a quick little story. When I first started making videos,
Hey everyone, it's Dylighted here. Hello everyone, it's Dylighted.
I told myself, I never want to be like one of those YouTubers that would just yell at the viewers, smash that like button, and hit that subscribe button. So that's why I like my first 10 videos. I never asked for people to like and subscribe. I thought, as long as the content is good, people will naturally like and subscribe. What I didn't realize is when you tell people to like and subscribe, well, they're way more likely to do it. And you may have noticed that this video isn't sponsored. I feel like I've been selling out recently, just bombarding y'all with ads and sponsorships. So, I wanted to give y'all a break. But that also means I'm probably not going to make that much money from this video. So, it would mean the world if you could smash that like button and hit the subscribe if you want to watch more. With that, let's get back to the video. But that doesn't matter, since on Blue's turn, he rolls an 11, and he ports 3 of his brick for a wheat, and drops a settlement to win the game. Wow, what a crazy one. It's weird to think that one player winning over another is a lot more strategically beneficial, but considering the format of how this is being played, it makes a lot of sense. Anyways, I hope you enjoyed this crazy game, and I'll see you in the next video. If you want to watch the previous game that we played, then click on this video. Or if you want to learn some advanced strategy tactics, then click on this video over here. Thank you so much for watching. I'm Dylighted, and I hope you learned something.